Hello, and welcome to The Gun Show, a show where we talk about guns and the Second Amendment, in particular, the legislation and for self defense. I'm Crystal Reese, your host. It's been a while. Let me explain a little bit. We moved, my family relocated to a rural area. I don't really think it's super rural, but it's rural enough where we only have one option for the internet. And that server was down for almost a month, which was great. Detox in a way, kind of, not really. It was really annoying. And then my husband left to Utah to get the remainder of our things. And now we are completely in Kansas. Woohoo! I love Utah too, but it's just nice to have all of my things in one location. So that's my personal life. I am very pregnito, very pregnant, have no desires to show my face, but I'm doing it for you guys. We are still here. I also have a lot of content from a really good interview with Alaskan Ballistics, Chuck over at Alaskan Ballistics. However, so much has happened in the time that I was unable to record that I don't think I will be able to shove it in this episode because there are just things we need to talk about. First of all, let's talk about it. The mass shootings. We've had, it's curious, very curious indeed, that we have had two mass shootings just super close to the Senate hearing on the 23rd of March, like within a week. There's these major mass shootings, and we haven't had a lot of mass shootings publicized. There actually have been mass shootings. I looked it up, but they haven't, the media has been silent. So they've been basically focusing on the stimulus and COVID and reform and whatever. And then whoever's paying their bill was like, hey, there's going to be gun control hearings. So make sure you push the gun violence. And so they have pushed the gun violence. And excuse me, this one in Colorado was one of the worst ones we've had in a year. I mean, 10 people were murdered. It's a nasty situation. They originally said it was a white supremacist, the media, because they didn't have any idea. All we saw was this guy without a shirt, and he looked lighter skinned and he had brown hair. Come to find out, he's actually a Muslim ISIS extremist. So, bummer that didn't play into their agenda as much as they wanted it to. And then we also have the nail salon man who had a weird psycho fetish and decided to murder all of these women that were Asian there, and horrible, horrible situations going on. However, when a cop kills someone, if a cop shoots a black man, we are told that he is racist. No one says, oh, the gun shot the black man or the white man. No one talks about the guns when cops shoot people. When people shoot people, when civilians shoot people, we don't say, oh, he was a religious extremist or he was a porn addict. I mean, I have to look up their motive, but what is strewn across the highlight reel or the caption? Assault weapon is involved in a mass shooting or whatever. Assault rifle, man kills 10 with an assault rifle. We focus on the gun. So civilians kill people because of the gun, because they have guns. Cops kill people because they're racist, not because of the gun. Do you see once I word it that way, that doesn't make sense? That Muslim guy did not go up and shoot up a bunch of people in the grocery store because he owned guns. You want to know how I know that? Because there's 434 million guns and uh, millions of gun owners. And guess what? We're not shooting up people. So it's not the guns that are making people kill people. It's not like I put a gun in my hand and now suddenly I want to murder everyone. That's not how it works. It's the person and their own issues. So, HR 8 and 1446. These are two bills that passed the House. Let me share the screen here. And today, the day I'm recording this, which is March 23rd, the Senate talked about these bills and gun control. And how convenient to have a publicized crisis about this issue. Here's the problem. The background check is saying, hey, you can't do private sales of firearms. A husband cannot give a gun to his wife, or a dad cannot give a gun to his son without going through a background check process. Okay, but to enforce the background check process, we would need, as a country, a national gun registry. Now you see and now you understand why gun owners are against this. Because that's the first step of confiscation. No one needs to know how many guns I have. I don't have to write it down on a piece of paper for the government to know to enforce that. That's not okay. And that's why we're fighting this. No, we're not going to give you a list of everything we have, because guess what? Once you pass your ban on whatever, they just have to pull up their list and say, all of these people have this gun. And we have now decided that pistols are illegal and you're a felon. And it's very convenient. We can just go to every house and grab their pistols from them. You see why a national gun registry is not okay. And that's what HR 8 does. And then HR 1446 it just enhances the background check. Oh, okay, now I remember. It's eliminating the timeline for the government the FBI to perform the background check. So what used to happen is, or what happens right now is, we'll submit, not me, I'm not an FFL dealer, but an FFL dealer will submit information, say, hey, I need a background check on this person. If it takes over 3 days, I believe, and the FBI didn't do their work, they just sat on it and they didn't report and they didn't do anything, then the gun shop owner can be like, hey, here's your gun, because they took too long. Well, now they're extending that to 10 business days. And then if they don't respond, then you have to wait another 10 business days. It could be up to a month of waiting for the FBI to just sit on it. And if anyone has lived in California, you can learn pretty quickly how annoying that is, of having to wait just 10 days, but waiting on the government to process paperwork, like giving them more time, is not okay. Just get it in gear, process it in the time that we have. So those are the two. And to be honest, it's not looking good. It is not looking good. I don't know. It's not like a done deal where those are going to be passed, but if they're going to be passed, if there's ever a time that something like that would be passed, it's now. So what do we do? What do we do as gun owners? I tell you what we do. If all of the 50 million gun owners do not comply, You don't fill out your little form writing out every single VIN number of your gun and submitting it. If we all just say, "No, this is unconstitutional, we are not complying," in masses, we have to do this as a collective group. We have to all stand up for our freedoms. They can't enforce it. They won't. They won't be able to enforce it. They had something like this happen in Philadelphia. I believe it was a couple years ago. Um, the mayor basically said you have to turn in your semi-automatic rifles, and no one turned their guns in. No one. And what happened? It just whatever. I'm I'm super disappointed. Okay. You can be disappointed. But yeah, nothing really happened. And so we have to decide when we are going to say no. And I'm telling you, a national gun registry is when you say no. A mass, the, okay, let's go back. Today, because of the shootings and whatever, we had Biden who went on and said, we need to ban assault rifles, assault weapons. And he said, I've done it before and it was successful. And we need to do it now. Okay, the bill he is referring to is 1994 crime bill. This bill was just an onslaught of a bunch of things, but among them was banning 19 semi-automatic rifles and some pistols, and then also a capacity. But it didn't make them turn them in. So if they had them, then they could keep them, like, they had that grandfathered law, and it stopped the production of further guns. Well, the irony is after that decade, it was a decade experiment from 1994 to 2004. The irony is after that decade, the semi-automatic rifle deaths, even though they were banned, increased. Interesting. So it was a failure. It was a failure of a gun control bill. In addition, in that bill, they actually, what's the word I'm looking for? They paid states more money to incarcerate people. So they incentivized, whew, that's the word I'm going for. They incentivized states to incarcerate people. And it ended up becoming a mass incarceration of who did they incarcerate? The minorities. And now we have the most people that are incarcerated in the world, including if you take just certain states, and just those states, I believe, were higher than like 23 countries, just individual states. So it was a mess of a bill. Not I believe some things were good, like they gave more money for law enforcement to so that they different states could get more law enforcement, and they made them actually get out of their cars and interact with the people, which the law enforcement did not like because, I mean, that seems a little bit more invasive. Like, it's much easier to patrol and cover a larger area when you're driving versus having to get out of your car and, like, walk the streets, but, um, yeah, so the crime bill was not a success. Just look it up. Very simple. It's very obvious that it was an attempt with no research, and we do not need to repeat that bill. So, if they say, "Hey, these guns are now illegal," going back to my original point, all these guns are now illegal and no one turns their guns in. No one gave them a mass registry. Guess what? I'm sure they'll go and find some people on Instagram and whichever ones posted their pictures, they're going to do something, but everyone still needs to stand their ground. You know, if you're the one that got picked for being a show, they're trying to scare people, you stand your ground. And everyone else stand your ground because it's unconstitutional. Those are our rights, and that's the only way we're going to win. Standing our ground I don't know. I'm averse to fighting. I'm not gonna fight until people try to kill me. If they start killing me, then I'm fighting, but for me personally, I don't know. My husband's a different character. So that's where we are sitting at. Woo! Lots happening. Uh, not really happy about those bills, not happy about the media. Some people say that, and I also was considering it's awfully curious, awfully suspicious that these shooters are doing this right now. What superb timing. Um so some people were thinking that they were being paid for or incited kind of the same way that people were inciting riots by just randomly stacking piles of blocks and bricks by the side of the street and shipping busloads of people to go and wreak havoc. However, I do think instead of someone paying for this, I think it's more the media's focus. I think the media was not focusing on it so much because it wasn't good timing. Now they're like, "Hey, pick up on anything that happens and make sure you focus on it for this gun bill." That's more so what I'm leaning towards, but what do you think? Let me know. Some good things. Woo. Actually, let's do the last bad thing. Oregon is looking at passing a gun storage bill. Here's the problem with a mandatory gun storage bill. If you have your gun locked up in your house, and a robber breaks in and grabs the lockbox with your gun in it or whatever, and somehow breaks into your safe and gets your guns, you are now held responsible for the robber stealing your gun. Is that a good idea? That's like saying, "Hey, I had my car parked in front of my house, and a thief broke into my car, stole my car, and ran people over. And now I'm fined for that thief stealing my car?" No. No, that's not a good law. And that's why gun storage bills and laws are bad. Yes, I am all for gun storage and safety. I will chew your ear off because it is not good. I hate seeing people just set their guns on a counter. And I know it's a personal opinion, and all gun owners, we're not all the same. But like if someone just takes their gun out and sets it on the counter, my husband, especially with little kids. I mean, if it's just adults, that's one thing. But if you have little kids, you set it up, oh, it's high. I put it on top of the fridge. Well, guess what? I have kids and they are toddlers and they can get on top of the fridge. And guns are the coolest thing ever. They're so much cooler than candy and cookies. Like guns are so cool and kids want them and it's just not safe. However, I don't think mandating it is good. Another problem with a mandated gun storage bill is once again, you're going to have a gun registry, just like California makes you, well, they say you should register your guns when you get in there. Have people done that? No, I'm sure. I didn't when I was living there. Florida bill to allow carry in churches with schools advances. So that's good. Good news. Florida is moving forward on the bill to allow you to carry in church and potentially schools. Woo! Another good moment. Indiana is moving forward towards the permitless carry. So, one more. Tennessee already passed it. So, the states are seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing a super anti Second Amendment federal government, and the states with brains are responding. And I'm just waiting for Kansas to get on this next one. Oklahoma Senate approves the Second Amendment sanctuary bill. So we have Oklahoma, Missouri, and a couple other states that are becoming Second Amendment sanctuaries, which that's the big thing. Is your state going to enforce the federal bills? And yeah, I'm sure the feds are going to send the ATF, they'll send their um, National Guard, they'll send their people. But I mean, if you're in a state that's even more on top of more anti Second Amendment, then it's even worse for you. So Oklahoma, Alabama is doing the same thing. And then we have other places like Texas looking into it. And like I said, Missouri already did it. I want Kansas to get on board. Kansas actually is looking at expanding the constitutional carry to 18 and older. I am a fan of that. I believe if you can live by yourself at 18, then you should be able to protect yourself at 18 and be able to protect yourself outside of your home. Like, oh, sorry. You are an adult, but only a kind of quasi adult. So you can only kind of protect yourself at certain places. I'm going to end it with some last information. A lot of people will quote the Australian and the New Zealand gun confiscations for success. However, a recent report has come out showing that gun crime has hit a new peak in New Zealand. Almost a decade after the confiscations, they have had double the firearm related offenses. So tell me that worked. It doesn't. It doesn't work. You want to know why? Because it's not the gun that's killing people. My guns don't kill people. They never have. And I pray that they never will. I pray I'm never in that situation because it's not the gun, it's the person. And we do have some problems in America. I'm not going to say we're peachy and we're great. However, the bills that have been suggested, HRA and 1446, would not have prevented the past two mass shootings. Those still would have occurred with those two bills. They're not logical. They're not preventing something. Another thing I saw is assault rifles, quote unquote, which those are just a term that they're saying for semi-automatic rifles, have killed about 400 people a year. Falling down stairs has killed 12,000 people, about 12,000 people a year. So maybe we should ban stairs because that is a huge difference. It's not about the deaths. It's not about the lives saved. I have to repeat this like a broken record because that's what the numbers show. That's not what it's about. Not saving lives. It's about control. It's about removing your protection, your ability to protect yourself from a tyrannical government. That's what I'm going to leave you with, people. It's been a crazy week. I will see you next week with hopefully nothing more happens or no more bad things happen. And then we can resume with the interview with Chuck because it's a good one. So we're going to have a good one next week. Have a great day.